All right, guys, welcome back. I'm here yet again, Alex Dow, alongside Mike Ellis. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Second names. We're getting those involved now.
Yeah, we just got to make sure everyone knows who we are.
Yeah. Make sure
Yeah.
to check out A dot. Was it A dot A?
No,
A dot
it's Dow
A dot
TCG.
D.
It's fine. Absolutely fine. Moving on, we've got round 3 of our day 2 coming up. Another exciting feature match. We're going to be featuring a deck which we haven't seen this weekend yet, but has also squeaked through into day 2 and actually is doing very well. Up against a deck we've just seen, the Mew VMAX Fusion Strike type variant. And you'll be going up against our Reggie Gigas.
Yeah, Reggie Gigas. Definitely worried about the current format. There's a lot of decks that can beat it, but I think while it's a secret deck that people aren't thinking about, it can come in and cause some damage. And it's doing well here. You know, Collapse Stadium, not as popular. That was, as soon as Lugia came out, one of its favorite stadium bounces. And now you got to worry about things like Path instead. And so that doesn't affect Reggie Gigas. And it has so many great tools to work against all the different matchups.
100%. We'll just, just as you just saw there, little flip of the switch for the names. The Sen is on our left playing with a Reggie Gigas. And Jamie Hindley on the right-hand side, a UK player against a Belgian. And up we start off and kick off our round 3 of day 2. So Jamie is starting things off with the Mew in the active and a quick ball very quickly here to get his board set up.
Yeah, we just saw that Mewtwo v Union deck come through and play up against the Mew VMAX, and very similar game plan in the sense of needs to find the combo pieces to get the big play out, but definitely a different pace of game. Because once that Reggie Gigas is in play and hitting big numbers, that's where the Mew VMAX is going to be worried. So Mew's going to try and tempo out early on, get as many knockouts as possible, try and disrupt, potentially using that Lost City as well
to
get rid
vital.
of key attackers and make it as hard as possible for the Reggie Gigas deck to work with the ability on that Reggie Gigas, which is so key to getting the energy in play.
That ancient wisdom, being able to once during a turn, once you have the full board of all those Reggie pieces, being able to attach energies from your discard pile up to 3 to one of your Pokemon, so it can utilize the different attackers. Often some of them hitting for weakness and sort of very sort of key attacks as well. But yeah, it's an amazing ability.
And it's the fact that it's any energy means that special energy can be used, which means you can have that versatility with the Aurora energy across all of your Reggies. And part of the reason why Reggie Gigas has struggled in the current format is any deck that's looking to counter special energy specifically with that Lugia will also by proxy be attacking the Reggie Gigas' use of special energy.
Exactly. It'll be impacting the Reggies as well. As we continue to see Jamie's side of the board, he's just beginning to fill up with those Genesets, using those Fusion Strike energies, bursting through turn 1, you know, a fantastic ability we've seen multiple times over this weekend to allow the player to kind of get into the game, which is vital. Often, you know, do you want to play one of those consistency lists and decks? Does have some very unique counts in his list. Is playing only 2 Mew VMAXs, playing 2 Alyssa Sparkle, but again, also countering with many stadiums and the Lost Vacuum alongside. We've spoken about Lost City, but he's playing a Crystal Cave for those Lost Box, Sableye Sprinkles. He's playing his own Path to the Peak, knowing Disruption is a route to go to victory as well.
Yeah, and there's a variety of ways to play this Mew VMAX now. We've sort of seen 3 different versions of the build. One of them less popular now. It's that Fusion Strike build, which we're seeing here, the double turbo energy with disruption build, and then just a straight double turbo consistency build. And that one's sort of gone out of the format where last format it was the most popular of the 3, and now that disruption build with the Path to the Peak coming through. And this one's a unique one because it's the fusion build which has also got some disruption involved. Normally the fusion build looking to be the most aggressive as it has that ability to use Meloetta with the fusion energy, but on this occasion there is some disruption potential, and so maybe we'll see the Meloettas be the attackers at points during this battle here.
Yeah, very likely, and not playing extra flip cards like the Pokemon Catcher as well. But just from Sen's side, he's been able to attach that Aurora, discarding that gift energy, which has been vital with the Regigigas doing so well now. Once it's attached to a Pokemon, if a Pokemon is knocked out by a damage, you draw cards up until you have 7. One of the key things why a lot of Regi players have maybe avoided playing it in larger tournaments is that consistency with the decks. Obviously, sometimes you have to go into your Regidrago and use that ability to draw 4 cards, up to 4 cards into your hand. And right now, it looks like we're just going to see a Reggie gate shortly, and just Sen for the first time being able to actually really look through his deck and identify what's been prized. We've just had a quick look there. Nothing too crazy, but I did mention that VMAX, where now Jamie will only have access to the 1.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why we often see 3 VMAXs or V-Stars played in decks is the potential for 1 prize, because you normally need 2 throughout the game. It's very easy to search currently with Evolution Incense and Ultra Balls across the board, so it's not too much of a worry when you've got 2 as to whether you've got to find them or not. It's really about the prizing, and we've even seen 2 Mew VMAXs prize in some matches where then that only gives them access to 1. So leaning towards that 2 is a bit risky, but again, early on getting those Meloetta attacks, it does mean that you can have just those 2 because you're likely to take prizes without needing a Mew VMAX early on.
Yeah, and I think Sen's just there counting through his Pokemon, which is very rare to see none of the Reggies prized at all. Also checking through the energies and only 1 energy prized. Kind of key cards like the Marnies and the Research are usually quite important for Sen's side of the board as well, because he just wants to keep kind of drawing cards to see those pieces. Right now, he's got the Regidrago out as well, that Dragon's Horde ability, as I kind of mentioned, being able to continue to give him a little bit of consistency.
Yeah, the Regigate being an amazing attack as well across majority of the Reggies allows you to start searching out the missing pieces on the turns, especially your first turn. You generally don't get all pieces out of the Reggies. You have to be very lucky to do that. So being able to search out an extra one is useful.
Head, tails, sorry there, just one of the few flip cards there from Jamie. So we just wanted to quickly flash back to the game, of course.
And the choice belt is an interesting one here because for the Mew, completely irrelevant in this matchup, whereas for Sen is a key component to that Regigigas attack to get the one-hit knockout.
Yeah, being able to deal 150 damage with that Gigaton break. It does have a heavy energy cost, but that's where Sen will be playing things like those twin energies to kind of ramp up quickly. But if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon V Max, it does 150 more. 10 short, but then that's why that choice belt is so vital that you just mentioned.
Especially if there's an Oricorio in some lists of Mew V Max and you really do need to get over that tipping point, which is why something like a powerful colourless wouldn't be a good option, because you still generally will need to hit 30 more than 300. And you can also see the way Mew is building up now, it looks like Meloetta is going to be an early game plan, and that's where the prize mapping is key. Is if you can give up a few prizes with Meloetta whilst taking some, then that's going to make it hard for the Mew VMAXs being knocked out to be as effective from that Regigigas.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's such a single prize deck from Sen here playing the Regigigas, Jamie's just got to be able to use his own to be able to kind of prize trade efficiently. And there's the extra power tablets. 2 played now, trying to target down potentially one of these Pokemon. That Regirock there having 130 HP with Psychic Leap.
Yeah,
technically
Psychic
will
Leap.
have enough, so long as not the DTE attached, of course.
Yeah, there is 3 double turbo energy in this list, but the fusion energy is a strategy there. Only 2 Alyssa Sparkle though, so limited to the amount of times that you can bring in fusion energy through that. There is Power Pad to potentially recycle it, generally used more for things like Silene or maybe the Marnie if you're looking to disrupt a lot.
There's the Forest Seal Stone. So it's one of those pieces where maybe that's why some of these counts could go down a little bit lower. There's a discard of a power tablet with the Ultra Ball. Obviously may need access to that VMAX should Jamie want to use it to attack at this moment in time, because there's only 1 available. We'll want to try and utilize maybe those power tablets to be able to Psychic Leap on other turns, but unfortunately has played those and hasn't taken any damage so far. Typically you want to Psychic Leap when it does have some damage on to kind of get a bit of value out of it and kind of just take off some damage from Sen's side.
Yeah, and just the way Jamie has drawn into so many power tablets, perhaps he's going to commit to that Psychic Leap strategy now, because the Psychic Leap will allow for the guaranteed removal of any 3 prizes in play. And now all 4 power tablets out of play, 3 played and 1 discarded. But it does open up a lot of draw potential here, and we see that Alyssa Sparkle and a Fusion Energy in hand. So I
guess one of the few things, and I had the chance to play Fusion Strike Mew in a recent tournament as well, and against Reggies, I started targeting down the Reggies, which typically is only a 2 count of. I played the Lost Cities as well. My game plan was to try and Lost City 2 of the exact same Reggie, such as the Regirock, because that's never going to be a 2 of. I've seen once upon a time it was actually a 1 off index. Or the Regice, for example, which typically are the 2 would only ever have a 2 amount of.
Which
so
ones
once
would you go
it,
for a 3 amount of then in this list, generally?
Typically, just because the Regieleki is really key because it hits for weakness, and sometimes they play two of the one which allows you to snipe two on the bench, the Terra Spot, and then there's one which allows you to discard some energies and just deal a 120 snipe as well. So often you see a free of. The Regi Gigas is always a free off because it's such a key component of the deck, allowing you to, as you see, the Lost City just come down, and there's the Regi Rock already gone there. That's one. But the Regigigas you would have free off just because it's so important. And the Regidrago sometimes has free because there's an extra Regidrago that does 240 damage, which again allows you to kind of take two prizes very easily and very quickly as well.
Yeah, the Regidrago with Dragon's Horde so useful in drawing. So generally the more favoured option, especially you see here, it's in the active spot, allowing it to do that draw. But as you mentioned, the strategy here, it seems like Jamie's going for is remove as many Regirock from play, assuming that there's two of them, and that would deny the energy acceleration that Regigigas has available. And at that point, you start wondering, is there going to be some stalling turns of trying to protect the Regigigas energy acceleration for a bit, try and get as much energy in play before all of the pieces of the Regis are gone.
It's definitely vital
scary.
now for Sen to be able to manage that Regirock for perfect timing, because he can't put that down unless he's ready to attack with that Regigigas to take a knockout. That's the one way then to be able to sort of counter that, because if he's going to be using the Regigigas to attack, to maybe take out a Mew VMAX to kind of get those heavy prizes, and that Regirock comes down, Jamie can't target the Regirock because he's still staring down at a Regigigas with 5 energies on it.
Yeah, and you just see here that the hand that we see on Sten is not a good one. The Ordinary Rod not really active right now. Having a second Regigigas when there's one already in play, not a great card to have. It's got a Scoop Up Net which can be played and instantly brought back in, but I think using that Regidrago before Scoop Up Net might open up the ability to use another Regidrago. We see the Regieleki being promoted there. Does have a 2 retreat cost, which isn't ideal to get it back, especially as the Twin Energy was played straight away. And we do see just a pass there. So Regirock not brought into play, because if it was brought into play now, then they would see the energy acceleration and the potential for a disruption through that Lost City. So now another key component could be attacked and taken out the play, which would just make it that much harder for the Regis to get out. Yeah,
and Sen is playing the 3 copies of that Regieleki, so that's why he's offering it up as a tribute for this matchup here, for that Lost City to be put into the Lost Zone. Doesn't really want to give up too much more at this moment in time. It might be an option just for Jamie to maybe try and target another card. I mean, does play the double escape rope. It just kind of causes awkward scenarios. That Regi steals also a 2 of, and just makes it really awkward then to find pieces. And there's the echoing horn to bring a Regigigas. So Sen in a bit of an awkward spot. Does play the scoop up nets to be able to kind of maneuver around sometimes. But here we go again. It looks like it's going to be an active Regidrago. It's going to be needing to draw more cards. This is the inherent issue, in effect, with Regigigas. It's just sometimes just not quite the consistent deck that you really want to be playing in such a big tournament. But at the same time, he's 8-1-2 right now. Yeah,
and that's the key to this list. It's not much wiggle room in the Regi list. You have to have so much consistency. You've got the 4 of all the ball search where possible. You know, you've got the capture energies, the trekking shoes.
Yeah, there's the concession there by Sen. I think he's just not been able to really get into the game. Sorry to interrupt there, but yeah, the writing was on the wall with those cards that you were mentioning, the trekking shoes and so on. We saw when we streamed Warsaw as well, you know, we had some innovative extra cards. I think there was a Radiant Greninja in the Regis, so to try and, one, support the fact that you'll get energies in the discard for the Ancient Wisdom ability, but also giving you that draw power.
Yeah, it's one of those unique lists where you kind of know how it's going to work when you come up against it, and people did have strategies to play against it. Collapse Stadium was all over the place. Lost City is a great way to deal with it, and that's one of the reasons Mew VMAX likes to play Lost City, because there's a lot of counters to Mew VMAX, right? Drapion, you've got the Mighty Enna as well, Zorobot. We've also got in this one like the Regigigas, so if you can find ways to disrupt those through that Lost City, then that's the way Mew VMAX can often get itself in favour. So Mew VMAX is prepared for this matchup. This particular build is prepared for this matchup. But still, if Regi gets everything out, it's still a tough matchup.
Yeah, it's still a scary thought to just see a Regigigas being able to deal 300 base damage to your Mew VMAXs. Only plays the 2 copies, so maybe it's a little bit less because it can kind of go the Meloetta route. to be able to find a way in this matchup. But Sen's really going to be looking for a way to just get all of those Reggies out and just kind of be prepared for whatever may be coming his way. He's going to be going first this time, or very likely to be going first this time, having lost game 1, but be looking to try and, at the very least, tie it up. You know, these matchups, especially with Mew, sometimes, although there's lots of sort of shuffling and lots of different ways and drawing cards, typically as an aggressive deck, these go to a very much quick matchup.
Look at those prizes
Wow.
from Reggie. Both Regice in there, so they'll need to come out of the prizes. And we also see...
Is that an early heavy ball?
Okay, well, he's instantly going to be thinking, well, this is not good, but has to take the Regice out of there because that's the only one of those pieces which he doesn't have in his deck otherwise.
Yeah, it's still very awkward to kind of manage his resources from here on out. I think it was one Regigigas, one Regidrago, one Regice still in there. And I think there was actually one more. Was it 5 or was it 4 that we saw before?
There was 5 Reggies in there, so 2 Regice, Regidrago, Regigigas. We'll see them now.
Registeel as well.
So
okay.
if it comes down to either Regice or Registeel getting put into the lost zone, then he'll have to find a way to get them out of the prizes, which isn't ideal. But then equally, we know that.
Yep.
But Jamie doesn't know that, so Jamie's not going to be able to specifically target those to get them out of play. And we also know that Sen is going to likely offer only Pokemon like Regirock or the ones that he's got 3 of up to be given away early on.
Yeah,
so all that path as well.
Yeah, turn 1 path, fantastic start. Does have a research in his opening hand at the same time. Jamie here opening with his preferred card as well, that Battle VIP pass. Does have one of those Lost Cities prized, kind of making it a little bit more awkward to kind of go down that route as he did in game 1.
And Path Bounce as well, which right now is key to get that draw engine going.
So yeah, just kind of eyeing up those stadiums that's kind of there. You know, got the active Crystal Cave in the sort of front spot there of his deck. Just again, kind of making sure he understands what exactly is prized, what his game plan could be. No Muse prize, no Pokemon prize this time, so in a much better spot from that perspective. It's just whether he can find a way out on the path. You know, he does have the Forest Seal Stone. We've spoken about it many times before, where you can use that V-Star ability under Path to the Peak because it's not an ability on the card, it's on the Pokemon itself.
Let's have a look at that hand.
Unique. There's a Cramomatic, which is going to be big.
It could be key right here.
And it's a... Can't quite tell.
That's a Tails. That could have changed this first turn completely. You see so many Pokemon in that first hand. Battle VIP pass, but no way to get rid of the pass. So we're not going to be able to activate that Fusion Strike system to start drawing through the deck. So that Cramomatic flip could have been vital to this game.
Yeah, those Path to the Peak, very much a crux a lot to Mew decks. Just being able to inhibit them from being able to draw so many cards. Really sort of get things going from Jamie's side of the board, because typically you use the abilities to draw through your deck and then use the supporters really then to utilize some of your attackers or bossing things up and sort of gusting things.
Yeah, and you see that path in the starting hand for Sen. Very fortunate to have it there, but there is 4 of them in the deck, so leaning into that path, being in play as often as possible, and this is exactly wise. It's going to disrupt that first turn. No Meloetta attack coming out, which is key early on for the Mew VMAX Fusion build, and we do see the potential now for Sen to start opening up the board, getting those energy into the discard pile and attacking as soon as possible.
Yeah, applying that pressure will be vital. And here he's just got a few different options, kind of got the energy in hand as well to scoop up net. So just a few different things that he could work with here, but he's gone straight for the research, kind of get that energy in the discard. The ordinary rod is gone, does play a free copy of the card to be able to kind of replenish those Reggies where necessary. And it looks like he's just got another Regirock there, which is not ideal. Isn't finding one of his free Regielekis at the moment.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but we do see more draw with the trekking shoes. At this point, that path is going to be a great sticking power. I think that Cramomatic is going to be in Jamie's head right now. Why didn't you flip heads for me on this occasion?
Yep.
Part of the risk you play with it, you've got to kind of lean into the idea that you're not always going to get heads. It's more in there to try and discard items you don't need, like your Battle VIP pass, with the added effect where sometimes you might get to search. But there is moments like that in your first turns, especially under path, where you have to cross your fingers, and on this occasion, the finger crossing did not go in favor. And we see here a lot of energy in that hand. Not always a bad thing, because you do need energy early on in the game to start discarding, but not the ideal research there, getting into the Reggies needed.
Do see a Marnie in Sen's hand for next turn, of course, having played that research, but will not want to be using that anytime soon to give Jamie a fresh hand, because Jamie didn't do anything beyond just using those double VIP passes to try and get, I don't know, just thin out his deck without that Chromatic. So it's not doing too much. There's an attachment that Aurora Energy discarding another twin, and now just confirming for the screen for everyone, the viewers at home, that he's got 4 cards in hand. It's just a draw pass from Jamie, and Sen, I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to do much more than that.
Is that a quick ball maybe off the top there? And the other thing as well to note is Regigigas is one of the worst Pokemon early on to have in the active spot, because it doesn't have that Regigate attack, which is so useful if you are struggling to find your Regis, as you can search out exactly what you need. But we do see that quick ball there, and that's going to allow for one more Regi. But based off of the previous hand we saw, he might look to Marnie into finding the final Regi if possible. But that potentially could be risky considering Jamie is in top deck mode.
Yeah, I think from Sen's point of view, he may be more willing to try and allow himself to draw out of it as well, knowing that he doesn't need to just draw into other Pokemon, which are already prized. Hopefully he can draw us into some other better cards to kind of continue going through his deck as well, because, you know, the chances of him drawing cards like that to get out of it are a little bit higher, because he doesn't need to just draw into Pokemon.
Yeah, and the fact that so many Pokemon are prized means that his outs to what he wants are less so.
Yeah, exactly.
Admittedly, all the ones that are in his prizes he has out on the board. It's only that 3 of Regieleki that he needs.
So and that's all he needs to get going, because then he's got, I think, double twin.
He's going to go for it.
He does go for the money. I think. I mean, at the same time, this allows him to potentially go ahead in prizes. KOs the Meloetta, and then we'll aim to maybe KO just a UV Max with a Regigigas, and then it just is a more squishy Genesect V or Mew on the bench that allows him to close out the game. So
and to be fair, Marnie is still a disruptive card. You know, it's not giving them a massive hand here.
Jamie's just had a quick look what it is. He does have the double Regieleki now, so he is now able to start using that Ancient Wisdom ability to start swinging away. And here it is. And from this point onwards, Sen will be able to start using and taking prizes and getting those Pokemon out of them.
And he could have played the slow strategy there, but realistically, he needs to win 2 games. He scooped very early in that first game to guarantee the second game could be done. But this would also, by playing a more aggressive stance now with that Marnie into the Regieleki, getting those attacks off, in theory has 3 turns now before he wins if that VMAX comes out. And so he can just look to aggressively play in the game 2 and try and get into that game 3 and take the win.
Yeah, there's the speed energy attachment from his hand, allowing him to draw an additional 2 cards as well to once you attach it to a lightning Pokemon. Again, another way of trying to get that consistency with the Regigigas deck. You can't play too many, of course, because only the Regieleki can really use it to full effect. So now here we see the Ancient Wisdom. I believe that's going to be double twin at the very least. Plus the gift, of course, allowing him to, if it does get knocked out, draw it back up to 7. And that's exactly what you want to see from Sen. And there's the knockout, taking the first prize.
Oh, they're going game 3.
Yeah, that's a quick concession here from Jamie. Something we don't see too often, or often enough, from our players. And both players here, you know, on great records, on the feature match. Jamie identifying, you know what, I can't draw out of under this path right now. Had a little look. And, yeah, I'm going to try and take my chances going into game 3.
I would have loved to have seen that that hand after the Marnie, because what was in there would have indicated why that scoop happened. Because if you say had a Lost City, then we would go, okay, why don't you start drawing, or anything that could get rid of the stadium. And in this occasion, that Marnie must have put him into a hand. I think I saw a Silene in there, which is a card that's not very useful at that point.
Go for the Cramorant again.
Yeah, other than that, I didn't really see what was going on there. But Reggie's getting everything out on board. And the other thing as well is, like we said, Regigigas can just keep swinging for big numbers. So once it's set up, in theory, the pace is in favour of the Regigigas. You have to really get a Lost City lock, which is hard in that position to do, because you not only have to get the Regigigas 3 times if you do it that way, or you have to gust to get other things. You know, the ability to lock them out there is really tough. And the more turns Regigigas is in play, the more chances there are to get energy in play. So a very smart scoop there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes me wonder how bad those 9 cards in total, because he had 4 or 5 cards in hand as well, which weren't playable, and then was just drawing another 4 cards off the top of the deck from the Marnie. So it's 8. How many more turns would it have been draw pass? That then could have gone the slow route as well. And
we did say that this fusion list is a more disruptive list than the typical fusion list. Fusion list trying to be really aggressive, trying to get cards out of the hand and try and get that Meloetta in play with fusion energy as soon as possible. But if there is some disruption package in here, like the Path to the Peak, like the little cards here and there, you've got I mean, there's a lot of cards in there that after that first turn aren't good options to have, especially under path.
And we do just see from the prizes, there's a 1-1 line there from Jamie again, surprising. That's a Cramoratic. Also Tails on turn 1, maybe was looking for that part of P. Is having to cram again, cram away another cram. It's a, what is that? That looks like a Tails? It was really dark, so it was a heads. He's going straight to his deck.
Yeah, go through the deck, then we can assume there's a heads there. They're sometimes quite tricky with these translucent dice. So, I mean, we do see translucent dice for a reason here at events.
That's the reason. We have to use those because we know that they're not tampered with in any way.
You can look through and make sure they're not weighted.
Exactly.
But it does make it a little bit tougher to see under the lights here on the feature table. But we can assume, based off of the deck search here, it was a heads. And Jamie now going to be looking to set up Battle VIP pass early on, whilst there is no Path to the Peak in play, start drawing those cards, start thinning out that deck, and get himself in a safer position so the path can't affect him as much.
Yeah, so as I was beginning to mention a little bit there, of course, the 1-1 line, so we'll only have access to 1 Mew VMAX, only access to 1 Alyssa Sparkle as well, to maybe just start attacking with this Meloetta. Of course, can sort of use 2 turns to attach to it and attack, but, you know, typically with this type of variant, you want to be sort of bursting a lot of damage, but thankfully, on Sen's side of the board, their HP is not really more than 130 typically. It's just a Regigigas 150, and then you can kind of stretch with different power tablets and other items. And
respect to both players in their matches where they've gone first, they've got their game plan off as soon as possible, and the other player just not able to deal with it. And we see here the Mew VMAX going first here, setting up everything on board and able to draw into the deck, where the other side, Reggie's, has got a lot to do in turn 1 and 2 to get ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned how difficult it is often to kind of get a full board set up and actually an attacker off. But at the same time, we've seen it happen before. I've seen stranger things at this moment in time. But, you know, Registeel is not the most ideal attacker. Despite feeling like it does a lot of damage, it's 220 with that heavy slam, but minus 50 for each retreat cost in your opponent's active position. So we'll be doing 50 less as Meloetta, so it could technically knock it out. But yeah, it's still a long way to go with getting all Reggies out.
Because it's not just getting the Reggies out, it's getting energy into the discard pile. So the combination of the two is quite a lot to ask for in that first turn. We do see that path available to disrupt for the next turn potentially. And other than that, I mean, the cards on table that are just there to
just kind of sequencing his way as a game plan. Does get the Regigigas with the choice belt down, path down as well. A unique card for the Reggies is having that Serena option to both gust, but also discard cards to then draw up to the 5 as well, sort of helping to increase that level of consistency.
Yeah, Reggies in the past didn't have access to gust a lot of the time because it was too clunky in a deck that relied so much on getting the combo out. And at Warsaw, we saw sometimes the Reggie struggling to finish off Pokemon because they just retreated them and they were safe on the bench for the rest of the game.
A little bit of, not too much of a struggle here for turn 1. It's obviously not able to kind of burst through and get 6 Reggies down. I would look to maybe try and Regigate at this point because it's not really going to be a way out of that Registeel in an active spot. Does have a Regieleki as well. Because there's a free of, probably be benching it, and if it's an escape road target, you're going to offer it up again as a tribute. Yeah. But has research in hand as well.
I think has steal as well already for next turn.
Alongside another Path to the Peak if it does get bumped out of the way.
Oh, just passing.
Yeah, it's interesting, I guess. Maybe trying to hold on to the energies or the Aurora energy to try and utilize and get value out of it by putting another energy into the discard next turn. But as we see, we pass back over to Jamie. Discards his own single copy of Path to the Peak. With
Won't be playing that.
Yeah, not in this matchup at the very least. He's going to need access to some of the other stadiums and that Lost Vacuum as soon as possible. Does have the Lost City, so that Registeel looks like it's going to be going away and not coming back anytime soon.
Which is key, as we mentioned. There is a few Reggies that are likely to be 2-ofs in the deck. Regice, Regirock, and Registeel tend to be those ones because they are mostly there as the combo pieces. Sometimes Regice gets used as an attacker, and sometimes for weakness you might see the other two used as attackers. But for the most part, you are looking to attack, especially in this matchup with that Regigigas. And so on this occasion, getting rid of the combo pieces is more about denying the energy acceleration that is needed for Sen's deck onto that Regigigas.
Yeah, definitely. And we do see the other attachment there to the Meloetta. So it does have double Fusion Strike energy now. And there's the Registeel going straight to the Lost Zone. and Sen just kind of confirming what he's going to be promoting. Yep, will be the Reggie Elecki. Does draw into another one, and now has another path to the peak. So now, oh, actually, no, it's fine. He does have access to the second Lost City. It was in the other game that it was actually prized as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
There's the
that's
research.
key. If you can get rid of both Lost City before... I mean, at this point, Jamie's not going to want to play the next Lost City until that Reggie Steel is a target. But otherwise, those 2 Lost Cities are gone. I guess Silene could bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there might not be a choice. He may need to play it down to bump the path to the peak. So once it gets to that stage, Sen will feel a little bit more comfortable in setting up some of his attackers. And again, if he's got an attacker going and Jamie tries to target the Reggie Steel, he's still got the attacker going then, because it's still got those energies on it. And it's from that point onwards, Sen will just keep announcing that attack and try and take prizes.
Yeah, and Reggie's going into the discard pile isn't a big problem because there's the 3 ordinary rod to bring him back into the deck. But yeah, we are seeing... So that's one path into the discard pile. There are 4 in the deck, so it's not a big issue.
One more left in the deck somewhere.
Yeah, I think that should be enough to bump most of the stadiums, and by that point you put the 4th one down. Probably everything in play for Jamie. But yeah, we are seeing this game plan a lot slower here for Sen, just because he can't get those Reggies out as planned. I think there was a Marnie in hand, which might be viable as an option to draw into more of the Reggies. And with the path in play, that might be a disruptive nature that's needed. So
does pick up the Reggie Steel, knowing that that's a scary thought where he may lose one. So scoops it back up to make sure he doesn't lose it to another Lost City, and leaves the Reggie.
Did he top deck Lost Vacuum there?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know actually. I didn't quite see. Oh.
Oh, just look.
Okay.
Oh, I thought that was a pass there, but it's
that gesture often follows with a pass wording, but of course we can't hear them talk. But it was just a, can I check your discard pile, please, whilst I check whether you have any more Path to the Peaks available to in your deck. But here, Lost Vacuum is played, now activating or reactivating those Fusion Strike systems available to Jamie. Looking to try and just continue setting up his board. Does have the second Meloetta, and there's the Alyssa Sparkle come down.
Yeah, so I wonder where the other fusion, and maybe just the one onto the Meloetta, and not looking to, because if it goes anywhere else, it could potentially be wasted energy. It doesn't need to extend the damage output to 280, which the Meloetta's attack will get it to, with that melodious echo. For every Fusion Strike energy in play, it does 70 damage. Typically, you get 3 in play, and that's like a Techno Blast with no negative effect.
Yep.
But if you can get that 4th one in play, you can reach massive numbers in other matchups. Here, it's just to be able to power up those 1 prize attackers with Meloetta. So we see 2 on the active, 1 on the benched, ready to try and just continuously get attacks off without giving up a Mu VMAX.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we see from Jamie here, that he's just attached that 1 Fusion Strike energy to that benched Meloetta, because dealing that 140 damage is plenty enough against most of Sen's deck. So it's key here from Jamie, just kind of, again, beginning managing his resources, because obviously that Mew now has a double turbo energy attached as well. Does take the KO on this Reggie Lecky. Just the 1 Reggie now out in play for Sen. Of course, does have that Reggie still, does have to make that decision whether he benches it again.
Oh this is scary right now.
He doesn't just wants to kind of manage that as well as possible. Unfortunately, would have liked to have seen it as one of the last Reggies to put down onto the bench. Because if he does, I think if you said there's a Marnie, if he does play it down and it's a target, it will look really rough for Sen here.
Yeah, and I think Jamie knows. He's just checked the discard pile to see what's in there. The Reggie Leckies are there. They can be put back into the deck with the ordinary rod in hand for Sen. But at this point, doesn't really worry too much about the Reggie Leckies. It's looking for the other Reggies. You know, we've got the Reggie Rock and Reggie Drago both prized, so that does mean accessing those naturally through draw is going to be tougher. Capture energy, that's a useful way to get another Reggie down, so that's going to be Reg Ice, it seems. Might potentially look to get Reggie Drago, because that might have more draw outs, and it's harder to find naturally in the deck. Reg Ice a bit more easy to find, as there's 2 of them in the deck. So yeah, going to be getting the Reggie Drago. And at this point, the active Reggie Gigas is a hard one to retreat, and it was the only thing he could promote. So at this stage, it's not looking as good for Sen as he might have hoped.
Yeah, no, I mean, he does have the option here, but to potentially use a scoop up net, but he doesn't really want to waste the choice belt also attached to it. But it's whether he thinks he'll be able to use that Marnie to draw himself into the other Reggies that are available in his deck. So he still needs 3 more. So the Reggie Alecki, the Reggie Rock, which is only a 1-off now because 1 is prize, and also just that final piece there to be able to then use Ancient Wisdom to be able to continue attacking, because he's already attached with the Capture Energy. And it's just a bit of a difficult position that he finds himself in, because he's just not really been able to get going.
Yeah, off this Marnie really needs to find 2 of the Reggies, I think, if he wants to find it. Otherwise, he'll have to get lots of search outs. But the Ultra Balls and Quick Balls require a lot of discarding, so might not be able to get all of that in a single hand. A Heavy Ball.
There's one.
That's one.
But if there's an Ultra Ball, which kind of, again, makes it... And a Quick Ball.
So I think it is possible just about... Oh, is there enough discard?
There's not enough discard cards,
not enough discard.
I would say.
No, so the Heavy Ball will get 1 out of the prizes, and then there's only 2 cards to discard there, and so that's not quite enough. So 1 Quick Ball would potentially get something out of the deck. This is an interesting one, because we saw that Heavy Ball and we're thinking, oh, that's great, that's 1, but then the only other outs were through a lot of discard, and Ultra Balls takes 2 discard, Quick Ball 1, only 2 energy there in the hand otherwise to discard.
Yeah, it's a really awkward spot. If that Ultra Ball maybe was a Quick Ball instead, we might see them all out in full flow.
Or if the Reggie Drago was in the active, to be able to use the draw
yeah,
there
exactly.
with the Dragon's Horde. And yeah, everything right now just not quite sequencing right for the Reggie deck.
Yeah, and this is again one of the sort of key reasons, despite a lot of players, a lot of top players, actually hyping how good Reggie's could be, especially with the inclusion of that gift energy from the most recent set before Silver Tempest. It was played to such a commanding position, because I remember there was multiple in top 8 in the US regionals, and with the inclusion of Serena, it's given itself extra utility as well, because that's what it was missing, that opportunity to gust up a Pokemon and attack. But it is just a pass here at the moment from Sen. So back over to Jamie, and he's going to be looking to just easily KO this Regigigas, because there are 3 Fusion Strike energies now on the board.
There is 2 routes here. There's one which is play the tempo, knock out the Regigigas, hope they don't get it next turn. But there's also the high roll of potentially finding a gust effect through one of the boss's orders in the deck. There's 3 of them in the deck. I think one of them has been discarded already, maybe, for Jamie. And so using that boss plus Lost City on the Registeel would be the dream scenario. And we've seen a lot of the Cramomatics used early on, so high rolling through a heads on those is less likely.
There's the 4th Fusion Strike energy, so we'll be doing the max cap damage
Power
here.
tablet? Okay.
That's 340 damage now.
Blimey.
If it was hitting a V, 370.
For a Seal Stone, that's 1 component. So if he draws into either the boss or the Lost City here, then he can find the other one with that for a Seal Stone. There's the boss. So he's going to boss up the Registeel for a Seal Stone for that Lost City, maybe at this point.
Yeah, that should be. I mean, ideally, if he could draw into it, it's not an issue. But yeah,
you see the excitement in the way Jamie is searching right now. He knows exactly what he needs to do. Lost City comes down. Registeel's going to that Lost Zone. We will not be able to attach from the discard pile with Ancient Wisdom on the Regigigas. This is the dream scenario right now for Jamie, as he's locking Sen out of the main energy attachment route in the deck.
Yeah, and it's just that Regigigas which will have to find a way to just power through just by itself now.
Manually attaching to Regigigas for 5 energy.
Not ideal, and also having to stare down at the Meloettas, which have multiple energies attached to it, and that Mew ready to go as well. Jamie just took the Mew VMAX out of the prizes at the same time. Sen kind of just not in any good position whatsoever as a Reggie deck.
Yeah, Jamie did the excited search, didn't he? You know, when you see a player excitedly search through their deck, you know they've made a great play. And Jamie right now is probably sitting quite confidently here. Plenty of time left on the round as both players scooped early in Game 1 and Game 2. So here, Game 3, an almost definite outcome here just based off of the board state we see, and very much in favour of Jamie, as both Registeel are in the Lost Zone. No way to get them back. Sen will not be able to get all the Reggies in play.
No, not at all. And he does have that Regidrago in the active spot finally, looking to try and use Dragon Horde. Does bench the other Regidrago as well, just to kind of look at the 4 cards in his hand.
Needs a twin energy to power up that Regigigas.
Yeah, I think we've seen 1 or 2 maybe go to the discard already as well, and only plays a 2 copy of. I think
there's
one might be attached.
When on the Regigigas already, and if there's 1 in the discard pile, then there's no access to that now because Ancient Wisdom is offline. And yeah, just the board state now for Jamie. 2 single prizes fully powered up, a Mew ready to evolve if needed. and 6 prizes to take for the Regigigas deck. To chain this much damage in a row is going to be near impossible.
I'm interesting to see what Sen's options will be in this for the rest of this game. You know, over 10 minutes remaining. Not really an easy way to kind of potentially stall out Jamie by bringing up a lot of those Genesects in some way, shape or form, and that's just a pass over. And Jamie will just, all he needs to do really is just announce attack 3 more times, and that Regigigas can't really take multiple prizes if it doesn't evolve up to the Mew VMAX anyway. It's having to KO 3 V Pokemon and still attack 3 times.
Exactly. The Regigigas there to knock out Mew VMAX, but then there's no Mew VMAX in play, so that whole strategy is not possible.
Looks like a Silene there, at least one heads. There's putting the Lossy just to kind of rub it back in into the face of Sen. Unfortunately, I'm just going to keep lost zoning all of your Regis at this point because this Regidrago is also going to go. Unless we've missed something, but I'm almost certain that there's no extra Regis still here. And there's 3 Regis now in the lost zone, and there's another Regidrago in the active spot. Yeah, I mean, Sen's getting to the point where there's not really any point.
But we saw the fist bump into handshake. That's always a tough one, but bless him, that's there. Jamie's going to win that game with an amazing Lost City play at the end. We just got to sort of look as well at the Regi deck. It has won 8 times here across the Swiss, so it has done well, and it's because so many people are underrating it as a deck. They don't have those clap stadiums, don't have the Lost Cities, they don't have the counter specifically for that deck, whereas as we saw there, 2 Lost City was enough to take those games.
Yeah, it's such a easy card to kind of include for Mew as well, because as we mentioned, cards like Drapion V, you don't really want to ever see it come down more than the 1 time. And there's 2 outs for that with the Path and the Lost City if you get to knock it out. So it was incredible to see it in action against a Regigigas. Obviously, again, congratulations to Sen for still being on an 8-2-2 record, still fantastic. This was only round 3 of day 2, so there's still 2 more rounds, which could potentially try and put himself up to, I think it was on 26 points-ish. 2 wins will put him up to 32 points, still in a fantastic contention for points, money, prizes
maybe even
in the
top
tournament.
8.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to work out some of these top 8 point structure.
Well, there's not many top players who are on great records. You know, everyone's taken losses, everyone's taken draws at the top, so there's going to be some lower people squeaking in.
Of course,
maybe with those 10 wins. And fair play as well to play the fusion build of the Mew VMAX. We've seen the double turbo energy build more popular here. And actually, I want to hear from Shay what he thinks about Mew VMAX with this little deck analysis.
Right then guys, you're joined with me, Shay Burton, and I'm going to introduce to you one of the best decks in this format, Mew VMAX. Mew VMAX is a terrifying Pokemon, 310 HP and a 3 retreat cost. The main attack we'll be using is this one here. Cross Fusion Strike for 2 colorless energy will let you use any one of your Fusion Strike Pokemon's attacks as this attack, and we have some good ones, such as Genesect V's Techno Blast. However, Genesect V is not just here for its attack. It has a really good ability, Fusion Strike system. This lets you draw up to the amount of Fusion Strike Pokemon you have in play. So if you have 6 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play and no cards in your hand, you can draw 6 cards. And bear in mind this stacks, meaning if you have 2, 3, or maybe even 4 of these in play, you can draw upwards of 20 cards a turn. Honestly, gets a little bit bonkers. Meloetta is also a really good backup attacker in the Mew VMAX deck. For 2 energy, it does Murderous Echo, which does 70 for each Fusion Strike energy you have in play. This gets really mad when you consider Elisa's Sparkle lets you attach 2 energies from the deck. What this means is that if you're going second as a Mew VMAX player, you can actually start swinging for upwards of 240 damage turn 1. And it's this turn 1 swing that makes Mew VMAX a real contender in this format, meaning you can take 2 prizes going second on your first turn of the game. Terrifying. There are also builds of Mew VMAX that opt to not play the Meloetta package at all. This lets you play disruption cards such as Marnie, Roxanne and Path to the Peak, all hoping to disrupt your opponent just enough to where your Mew VMAX can carry you through the rest of the game. Right then, so I'm Shay Byrne and that's been our quick look at Mew VMAX, the fastest, most terrifying deck here in my opinion. But now it's time to go back to the regionals.
Hi, welcome back, guys. I am here with the winner of our most recent feature match, Jamie. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did you find that match? Did you know you were going up against Reggie Gigas?
Yes, as soon as I finished my last game, they called the round straight
Yep.
after, so I looked online quickly. My friend sent me a list of
Yeah, sure.
what decks had been confirmed. So I had a look, found it was Reggie, and was pretty happy when I saw what I was playing against.
Definitely. I mean,
especially with my build, it's
exactly. We've seen multiple builds of Mew over this weekend. A lot of the 4 DTE versions.
Yep.
We've now seen back-to-back Fusion Strike
Yep.
versions. What made you go for that particular variant over the others?
I played a lot with both of them.
Okay.
Obviously, the main concern was Lugia.
Mm-hmm.
Hard match. Well, best deck in format. It was going to be played a lot. We knew it was. I just didn't feel the DT build was aggressive enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt if I went second against Lugia, I was in a really bad spot.
Yeah. Definitely.
Going first, it's a good spot. Obviously, you still have Path in the DT build, but I didn't quite like it enough. So I opted for the DT build because I sort of worked out you can always win if you get your optimal setup.
Yeah, with the
Going
Fusion
second,
Strike.
2 Meloetters down, you can go for single prizes first and then force 2 MUV max, and they can't do much about it.
Yeah, you go in with a great game plan against it, and like you said, be really aggressive using Meloetta to attack to ramp up damage very quickly, right?
And I still also have a 1 Path in there anyway, so if I get my good hand, I'll put Path down as well turn 2, so they can't use their V-Star power, so it makes it even stronger.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see because you've got some unique counts that typically we see with Fusion Strike. You have maybe a bit more Alyssa Sparkle because you play the 2 copies, but at the same time you have that utility with Forest Seal Stone to just get it when you want anyway. So
that's
it doesn't
why I
really
went
matter.
Down to 2,
Yeah, so it's great to see that little bit of creativity from your own list as well, which is really cool. I mean, talk us about your other matchups. How did day 1 go? Were there any really tough ones which took you by surprise, or was there any matches you didn't want to see?
Not really. I was happy. Lost Box was obviously the one I was most wanting to avoid.
Of course,
especially the Kyogre version. The other one I feel I'm okay into because again I've got 2 Meloetters, so it sort of makes it a bit better. I've got Crystal Cave as well to help with healing the Genesects and stuff. So the Kyogre build was hard. Didn't play against any until round 9, so that was all right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there were any difficult matchups really. Played against Yveltal Mewtwo control round 1.
Okay.
But that's why I've got the Silene and Palpad.
Yeah,
so I can try and get the energies back and then Palpad again for Silene to try and do it again. Just to try and tech for that matchup. Yeah,
we see, like I said, I see a lot of sort of unique counts. I mean, we saw Fusion Strike Mew in the previous round as well, which didn't have Palpad.
Yeah.
But this Palpad kind of lets you get multiple uses out of like some of your energies or the power tablets if you need it, or those little one-off cards that are really useful. So it's really great to see
also
how you
helps with the aggressive discard, so it doesn't matter as much if I discard, say, 2 boss on an Ultra Ball turn 1, because if I know I've got the Palpad in deck, I can get them back for later. And
yeah, exactly. And this puts you now on 9 wins, 9-1-2,
I think,
which is a fantastic record. That puts you, 29 points?
Yeah.
Maybe another win. And
need a win at least,
Yeah, to kind of put you in really good, fantastic contention for top 8 or maybe some points, some prizes,
definitely
which is fantastic.
Some points, which is good. It's much better than Warsaw. Mayday 2 Warsaw. Got 1 win and bricked 4 rounds.
That
so
happens.
It's much better than.
Good to see the consistency that you're coming with in our recent tournaments. So, just with that, again, congratulations and good luck to you in final 2 rounds that you're going to be playing as well. But just with that, we're going to go back to our Nico interview and see you shortly.